this webinar had a whole different meaning. Now, with coronavirus, the meaning of significance has become, well, important. It's no longer enough to just have financial resources. What's called upon all of us now to do is to deploy all the resources we have in the service of a greater good, in the service of a larger purpose, in the service of important, probably life-saving meaning. That's significance. So let's talk about the significance blueprint and how to leverage your success, whatever success you've had, for happiness, impact, and transcendence. What you're about to watch isn't for everyone, but it might be for more people than it was meant for only a few weeks ago. If you're a spiritual seeker committed to consistent growth that reaches beyond your personal circle, or you're ready to move beyond success to significance in life, or you understand that self-awareness is an invitation to significance and transcendence, or you're a transformational thinker of any kind, or you're convinced that your true legacy is about fundamentally shifting world consciousness, this might be for you. People like business leaders, business owners, C-level executives, social and serial entrepreneurs, and success coaches may be the right people to invest in a program like this. But as of today, this may include parents, grandparents, caregivers, anyone who's involved on the front lines of fighting a worldwide pandemic. If you ticked any of those boxes, we need to talk. But before we do, or even if we never do, I want to put it out there on the line for you so that you really get the opportunity we have today. Maybe you're ready now, maybe in the future, but it's important. No, it's essential that you understand the critical moment in our world today. Sense your calling, your opportunity at this moment is to help change everything for good. In the next few minutes, we'll discuss the fundamental changes our world needs and how you can exert your power and influence in those changes. Those changes start with 5 fundamental shifts you can make right now. 5 simple shifts that help frustrated, successful people take their impact to the next level without the usual stress, headache, and heartache. This was created for any successful person who's interested in having a radically positive, significant impact on the world around them and leaving a legacy of right action for the better good. This is created for entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, business owners and executives, philanthropists and not-for-profit leaders, investors, and even parents. It was created for people who found success and are ready to reach up to positive, lasting influence. In the next 45 minutes, you'll begin to be convinced that everything you've built in your life up till now, everything you've done in your career up till now, has prepared you perfectly for this opportunity. You'll learn that the 5 fundamental shifts open a pathway for how to maximize your positive impact without the weight of more meaningless effort, how to exchange negative influences like distress or anxiety for powerful momentum, how to break through plateaus and limiting beliefs, how to sustain the decisive, empowered confidence you've earned and grow it even further, how to stay calm, cool, and in your significance lane in the face of overwhelming circumstances, and how to use your journey to positively impact the lives of those around you. I promise you that after our short time together, you'll be at a critical moment to decide exactly how to spend the rest of your life. These days, it takes courage to keep going. And you wouldn't be watching this unless you were already a courageous person. I honor that. I promise to give you the exact shifts you need to make transition from success to significance. An exact step-by-step process that'll help you achieve and replicate the very best version of yourself for the rest of your life. If this scares you, I honor that too. There's no way I can convince you otherwise, but the last thing either of us need right now, the last thing I want for you, is to look back on this pivotal moment in our era with fear or regret. I have to be totally honest with you about that. Years from now, I hope you're still thanking me for coming from authentic integrity on this. Before we tackle the 5 shifts, may I ask you a few questions? If you can relate to any one or more of them, this webinar is for you. Do you wake up feeling anxious because your best efforts don't seem to make a difference? Do you feel like you're living below your potential and you don't know what to do about it? Are you frustrated that your significance and influence aren't having the reach they deserve? Are you frustrated that others seem to pass you by in life? Do you ever wish there was someone who could show you what it takes to enjoy massive significance? Do you secretly feel like an imposter and don't know what to do about it? If you answered yes to any of those questions, I have good news for you. None of those are the real problem. The real problem is that you need to make new shifts that match your new direction, your new desire, your new opportunity. Once you make those shifts, you'll finally feel in complete control of your new destiny. You'll wake up every day with absolute clarity of how to get her done. You'll feel tremendously accomplished at the close of each day. You'll experience peace of mind, heart, and soul unlike anything you've experienced in your life so far. And so will those around you who get you in this newly transformed way. You'll know how to move through your day with revolutionary mastery of issues like distress, anxiety, and melancholy, and you'll find a purposeful control of your time and treasure. You'll know how to create opportunities for meaningful connection with your family, friends, and business colleagues, and you'll have more time to enjoy with them. To be completely transparent, it's important that you understand who I am. My name is Bill Protzman. I spent the last 30 years or so in front of audiences. I've been in front of C-level executives, politicians, licensed clinicians, volunteers, teachers, preachers, scientists, professionals, entrepreneurs, government bureaucrats, students, leaders in t-shirts and leaders with brass on their coats, and people who are at risk, which includes all of us, by the way. I've hung out with people who have doors and people who don't. People whose door leads to a hospital bed, to a car, to an executive suite, to a psych ward. And I've written and published what I've learned there. And I've been an executive volunteer leader, collaborator, and street-level worker, positively empowering thousands of veterans and homeless people with evidence-based tools for self-care. And in all that time, I've listened. Because in addition to being on stage, listening is what I do. And what I've heard is what I'm sharing with you now. What I've heard isn't rocket science. There's plenty of supportive evidence, both scientific and humanistic. It's not complicated. The bottom line is that civilization, all of us, must resolve our various crises. And as you probably also guessed, we can't do it alone. The big things I've heard and learned come down to just 5 fundamental shifts. 5 fundamental shifts that are absolutely essential to breaking out of overwhelming success into a manageable, confidently meaningful, purposefully significant life. Here they are. The first shift is to show up with a sharp blade. Creating isn't problem solving. Problem solving isn't creating, said Robert Fritz, and he ought to know. He's the author of a book called The Path of Least Resistance, Learning to Become the Creative Force in Your Own Life. I've learned that a durable practice can be transformative, and that no one, repeat, no one, can make lasting change without a durable practice. Knowing how to create and deploy durable practices is like showing up with a knife that never needs sharpening, ever. Abraham Lincoln understood this when he remarked, "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the axe." People who get this wrong become casualties of the disaster of bigger, better, faster, caught like a rat in a race toward some kind of fake cheese. Materialism is a highly vaunted example of a dull blade. The marketing, sales, and delivery of stuff we use to avoid discernment and connection has the effect of dulling our human blades. We see the results of serving commercialism and materialism in things like rising rates of suicide, lowered life expectancy, and all-time highs of distress, depression, and anxiety, and the disappearing middle class. It's not enough anymore to just saw away faster and faster and harder and harder. Automation and artificial intelligence are no match for empathic leaders with precision discernment who can quickly and precisely cut to what matters most. High levels of self-awareness have been linked with personal development, healthy relationships, and effective leadership. A high self-awareness score was the strongest predictor of overall success. You know where you want to go. Do you know yourself well enough to choose the path of least resistance? When you make the choices of least resistance, the fight to be number one disappears. Creativity takes hold, and you become aware of the missing parts of you that renew and sustain your meaning, significance, and purpose. And with that ever-sharp knife of durable practice, you cut right to the heart of transformative creativity. I'll say it again. We get what we practice. Practice lack, and you'll never have abundance. Practice distress, depression, and anxiety, and you'll never have contentment. If what civilization needs most is abundant contentment, then I have to ask, why do we keep using the durable practices of lack, distress, depression, and anxiety? There's no magic wand to wave, of course, for an unhoused person to transition into a home or a C-level leader to transition from success to significance. It takes ever-sharp blades, durable practices that do the best thing, do the right thing for all the shareholders in civilization. You're watching this because you suspect you can do that. And you're correct. You can build durable practices. Everything, writes the poet David White, is waiting for you. Provided you have specific durable practices, you can unlock everything that's waiting for you. The next shift to make is to stop reinventing the horse. Henry Ford is mistakenly supposed to have said, if I'd asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. I've learned that what we get is what we practice. Just like there was never a future in trying to reinvent a faster horse, there's a very limited future in attempting to make more economical, fuel-efficient, low carbon footprint cars. Why? Because somewhere out there, someone significant is working on ways to revolutionize transportation itself. Put another way, a musician could choose to practice wrong notes, but that's what will go on stage when that musician performs. Sadly, in many cases, wrong notes actually sell big time. On the other hand, the practice of right notes lets people clearly hear your music. You could practice problem solving the horse or the horseless carriage, or you could choose creative significance. Give people what they want, or show them a potential they've never even considered. People who focus on new ways to solve old problems are doing good work. But what if they aren't working on the right things? It's the bigger, better, faster disaster playing out again, and no amount of mindset or emotional intelligence is going to fix the internet addiction issue, for example. That's an indicator of working at the level that created the problem in the first place. How many of us are getting burned out in the service of a faster horse? The venture capital markets are becoming leery of unicorns promising faster horses. Remember that Ford didn't solve a slow horse problem. He created the mass market product life cycle of the automobile. I think it was Einstein who said you can never solve a problem on the level on which it was created. And this venture capitalist ought to know what he's talking about. Slowly but surely, more VCs are realizing they need to offer more than just money. They also need to provide value and values to account for the most important resource of all, human capital. How can we honestly look at our collective results today and claim to be practicing the right things? When you practice the right things, not innovative but transformative, you've chosen the path of sustainable creativity over the death spiral of mere problem solving. You've chosen both to learn a new practice and accept the significant rewards of that choice. So what's all this about durable practices of the right things? What does that have to do with reinventing the horse? I don't want you to get all philosophical about right and wrong. I simply want to restate that wrong notes can really mess up a great performance. One lousy musician on stage wrecks the whole ensemble. So we practice right notes because sometimes the opportunity calls on us to deploy skills like improvisation, to turn that sow's ear into a silk purse, to transform transportation or healthcare, for example. We simply can't reach that level without durable right note practices. Skillful people know that when the impossible happens, they're prepared to do the right thing. They have that much confidence in their practice and plenty of experience to back it up. Keith Jarrett, for example, is an amazing jazz piano player. But on January 24th, 1975, when he arrived at the Opera House in Cologne, Germany for that night's solo concert, he wasn't in great shape. His back was killing him, and the back brace he wore didn't help much. So in addition to that pain, he was also sleep deprived. And he'd just driven 5 hours from his last gig in Zurich, and there wasn't much time before he was supposed to take the stage. But that wasn't all. The Opera House staff had provided the wrong piano. Instead of the Bösendorfer concert grand he expected, Jarrett found himself confronted by a badly out-of-tune baby grand rehearsal piano in miserable mechanical condition. Not much about that piano that night was any good. In fact, it was pretty much the nightmare scenario for any performance, let alone a world-leading solo piano genius like Jarrett. The concert organizer, a young German student and part-time promoter named Vera Brandes, who was only 17 at the time, managed to connect with Jarrett, settle him down a bit, and cajole him into going ahead with the concert. A team of piano technicians worked furiously to get that piano into something like a tuned and playable condition, and at around 11:30 that chilly evening, Keith Jarrett took the stage. Back brace, pain, sleeplessness, terrible piano, and all. The recording of that concert that night is a masterpiece that has become the best-selling solo album in jazz history and the best-selling solo piano album of all time. When it's all on you, you know you've got this. That's the kind of practice we're talking about. That's the kind of significant practice civilization needs. But it goes even deeper. Practicing the right things shows up in the results. It's not just you on stage, either alone or with your team, somehow making it all work. It's not just everyone in the audience sharing your transcendent experience. It's more than that. Watching a well-practiced performance inspires us to the durable practice of right things. Evidence shows how this transforms enterprises, inspires the people in them to strive for mastery, and how the ripples of their right practices become the touchstones of rightness for others. Said another way, practicing right things is being the tide that lifts all the boats, or offers better alternatives to the horse or the automobile. It's a durable, creative cycle. How will your significance be a part of it? The third shift is to decide beyond dogma. Attitude is a shift. Happiness is a shift. Optimism is a shift. Kindness is a shift. Giving is a shift. Respect is a shift. Whatever shift you make makes you choose wisely. I love that paraphrase of Roy Bennett's Light in the Heart. I've learned that most of us, yes, most of us, don't seem to care, take the easy way out, let others do the heavy lifting, settle for less than we deserve, even give up. But only because no one has had the courage to offer us a better alternative. There's plenty of evidence supporting our human potential. It's just waiting to be significantly engaged. But we've ignored the fact that encouraging all that human potential is often a much better alternative than following some dogmatic script. Clinging to the ways we've always done it, including automating those ways in service of bigger, better, faster, is a disaster. It burns human capital. For example, how does income inequality serve civilization's needs right now? The way we've always done it is a flywheel that's just about maxed out. Why are we holding on so tightly to dogmas that have got us where we are together right now, today, with less hope for the future than we had, say, a month ago? General Motors improved on Ford's proud dogmatic adherence to its processes, and Ford saw its market share drop from 2/3 to 1/3 in less than 10 years. Too often, John Kennedy said, we hold fast to the cliches of our forebears. We subject all facts to a prefabricated set of interpretations. We enjoy the comfort of opinion without the discomfort of thought. In my experience, writes Mary Roach, the most staunchly held views are based on ignorance or accepted dogma, not carefully considered accumulations of facts. The more you expose the intricacies and realities of the situation, the less clear-cut things become. How can we honestly look at our dogmatic collective results and claim we are practicing the right things? Dogma busting isn't a sport. It's essential. Without fundamentally new decisions about success, we're risking our human and our environmental capital. And as a consequence, we severely limit opportunities to do the right thing with and for other human beings and for our environment. I'll share an example. You may know the story of Chris Kyle, the decorated American sniper. It was made into a movie. Chris's story is powerful but poignant because after his military service, his life took a turn. His combat-related post-traumatic stress led him to an early death. Post-traumatic stress doesn't have to end that way. Thanks to veterans like Chris, researchers have begun to explore post-traumatic growth. The mindset now is that trauma has always been one of the big ways that we human beings progress in our lives. Perhaps it's the most powerful way. So how do you deal with trauma? It's scary and it hurts like hell. Anxiety, distress, physical pain, and it can destroy everything good in life. But all that pain, science is beginning to tell us, isn't a wall, it's a doorway. So what can we learn from Chris Kyle? Chris didn't have to die. We had evidence, dating back to the Greek philosopher Epictetus and the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, that there were other options available than putting yourself in harm's way, even in the service of a noble objective. Without learning those durable practices of doing the right thing with post-traumatic stress, Chris's choices were drastically limited by the then current dogma. And only a few years later, that dogma has transformed from post-traumatic stress to post-traumatic growth. I know we can all feel like our choices seem limited, especially now, and yet we persevere. We write goals, we become accountable, we're resilient, we journal, we learn from failure and refuse to be defined by it. We reframe problems as opportunities. Our martial arts training lets us power our success with the energy of our adversary. We led our enterprises to greatness. And now you ask yourself, what's my next choice? What's left for me to do to change the world for good? How will I step outside of my belief system and make that choice? Will you start a local not-for-profit and lead your community in beautiful, sustainable ways that restore the humanity to places where it's become parched? Will you leverage your success to lead significant efforts to fix what's broken? Will you share your wisdom in ways that inspire? Teach what you've learned, do the right thing in the right way? Clearly, it's time. But how ready are you, really? If all you know, all you've accomplished, was done in a certain way, and that way hasn't led to significance, what will you do differently now? There's just no way to buy, donate, or bribe your way to significance. It takes a new fundamental choice. It calls you to make decisions beyond outdated dogma. Human potential needs encouragement. It needs to be encouraged to accept new limits. There's no man living who isn't capable of doing more than he thinks he can do. If you feel you can expert or influence or even webinar your way to significance, please join me with the honest truth. No amount of likes will ever lift civilization beyond where it is today to where it can really thrive. On the other hand, if you're humbled by the potential we have together, compassionate for your own brand new learning curve, and excited about the huge challenges we face, such as discovering our civilization's chance at sustainability and survival, you might be in the right place, thinking the right thoughts, offering your best self. It's clearly the right time. Do you have the courage to trade your old limits for new ones? We say no limits like it's a good thing, but the truth is that blue sky thinking is just one way to find the new boundaries of what's possible. We must bust open the old limits to explore the new ones. For example, let's look at American social policy. We've legislated ourselves into a limited box and a process that now requires laws that protect the individual rights of every conceivable marginalized group, except that it's not working very well. The limits we imposed in service of doing the right thing actually threaten our civilization's success and sustainability by constraining the very human potential we wanted to recognize as significant. Self-actualization is intrinsic growth of what is already in the organism, or more accurately, of what is the organism itself. Abraham Maslow recognized the importance of meaning, as well as the fact that meaning looks and feels different for each of us. One limit doesn't fit all. What is the potential for new limits? I want to quote the Dalai Lama in context so you'll get the full meaning of his point. It's a little long, so please bear with me. Quote, in Tibet, we say that many illnesses can be cured by the one medicine of love and compassion. These qualities are the ultimate source of human happiness, and need for them lies at the very core of our being. Unfortunately, love and compassion have been omitted from too many spheres of social interaction for too long. Usually confined to family and home, their practice in public life is considered impractical, even naive. This is tragic. In my viewpoint, the practice of compassion is not just a symptom of unrealistic idealism, but the most effective way to pursue the best interest of others as well as our own. The more we, as a nation, a group, or as individuals, depend upon others, the more it is in our own best interests to ensure their well-being. End quote. What could happen if we move beyond the limits based on separation and accept the new limits of practices such as compassion and connection? What could happen if we put the limits of fairness and equality aside in favor of the limits of love and compassion? Doesn't this continue Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream in collaborative, sustainable, significant ways? More than all the other four, this one is a crucial shift. And I hope you make this shift each and every day for the rest of your life. I hope you choose for your own good. That's not selfish. You're no good for anything if you're not good to yourself first. This crucial shift is to toss your old limits in favor of new ones you can discover. Felix Baumgartner is the only human being, so far, to break the sound barrier in free fall. On October 14, 2012, he jumped from over 128,000 feet above the New Mexico desert. That's about 24 miles above Earth's surface. It took 4 minutes and 19 seconds for Baumgartner to complete the jump, and he reached a speed of 899.3 miles per hour. You can watch the whole thing on YouTube. Felix Baumgartner risked his life to accept a new limit for human potential. You, too, deserve to explore new limits, such as collaboration and cooperation, judgment-neutral acceptance, compassionate action. Remove the limits of individual me first and deploy what you already practice to serve others first, and everything changes. The Dalai Lama gets this, and he challenges us to get it done. Finally, we must choose to trust the paradox. Paradox is the glue that holds everything together. If two things are both opposite and true, the truly significant individual will leverage both to create the new way. In short, we can see where duality has taken us so far, and that's plenty far enough, thank you. Why not offer fish where they're needed and teach fishing? The nightmare of not trusting the paradox results in things like either-or thinking that's delivered us nothing but rampant divisiveness and strife. Not trusting the paradox causes progress to grind to a halt in service of its opposite. My way or the highway, and if you're not with me, you're against me thinking are failing both me and you. Instead of either or, what could happen if we choose both and? This paradox is the foundation of engagement. We become stuck in a belief system that sees us as being either or, not both and, despite nearly all of us identifying with the latter. The paradox, writes Mark Nepo, is that we have this amazing capacity in our minds and hearts to learn and gain insights and then build a kind of personal storehouse of knowledge. The underside is that those insights harden and fill the spaces in our hearts and minds. They become assumptions, conclusions, and judgments. What could happen if we refuse to allow insights to harden in our hearts and minds? To paraphrase Mark Nepo, we deserve better than hardened insights. We deserve better than hardened insights that become dull assumptions, hardened insights that become rote conclusions, hardened insights that become dogmatic judgments. The both and paradox invites us to stretch the limits of human potential. We want to coexist and thrive, and we're built to do that together. Instead of the dead end of competition, research is showing that we thrive, we achieve more, become happier and more satisfied, we unlock our creativity when we cooperate, collaborate, and put binary thinking aside for the potential that's hiding right in plain sight, right inside every paradox. I've resisted offering you case studies for the 5 shifts for a good reason. The case study paradigm itself is a dull, pedestrian, dogmatic, and limited way of thinking about opportunity that offers potential based only on one half of a binary fact. Yes or no, true or false, good or bad. With the pressure for quantification and the growth of case study design and policy research, its original vision and utility for understanding complex phenomena has been clouded, and thereby an opportunity diminished for new ways of knowing. Helen Simmons wrote this in The Paradox of Case Study, a scholarly paper published in the Cambridge Journal of Education in 1996. There's plenty of interest in paradoxes today as it relates to topics like obesity and healthcare and gender equality. In fact, a quick search found more than 7,800 scholarly articles about paradox online. The ever myopic case scrutiny of what Helen Simmons calls complex phenomena has led us further away from both and thinking. This one direction, problem based approach ignores the very essence of creativity, what Robert Fritz was talking about when he observed creating is not problem solving. Problem solving is not creating. The tension in every paradox is the fuel that releases creative action. The significant leaders we need will be fluent in both and creativity and action. Why do you think that paradox is so crucial to significance? Paradox opens the way for both engagement and creativity. It's the answer to what humanity craves most, connection. And with engagement, creativity, and connection, the evidence shows that things can and will change for good. Things like distress, depression, and anxiety dissolve with connection. Creativity flourishes, engagement soars. Isn't that the kind of significant leader you're ready to become? Today, I promised I would show you how to maximize your positive impact without the weight of more meaningless tasks. How to exchange distress or anxious melancholy for powerful momentum. How to break through plateaus and limiting beliefs. How to sustain and grow the decisive, empowered confidence you've earned. How to stay calm, cool, and in your significance lane in the face of overwhelming circumstances. And how to use your journey to positively impact the lives of those around you. I can help take the you that is already successful, perhaps even significant, to a place where significance pales in the light of transcendence. Yeah, transcendence. I've used that word before. It's not just for gurus and shamans anymore. We're too far beyond that now. Civilization needs you, my successful, significant friend, like you've never been needed before. And it needs you to transcend all that you've ever been, and then lead from that place. The title of the one and only documentary about Tony Robbins so far is I Am Not Your Guru. I'm convinced that Tony implied by that statement that it is for you, for me, for anyone, for all who accept significance to become their own guru. And that our primary objective is to teach, support, and empower one another for good, for transcendence. To do that, you need to make some fundamental shifts. To show up with a sharp blade. To stop reinventing the horse. To decide beyond dogma. To accept new limits. And to trust the paradox. To make these shifts, we have to work hard and practice offline, as a wise friend likes to say, so that when we're called to boldly go online, we're already prepared with courage, strength, and mutual encouragement, and every expectation that the success we've achieved will power us through to significance and beyond, to transcendence. It's a daunting challenge, and together we have the choice, right now, to accept it. Are you with me? If you're already doing this work, please know that from my small corner of civilization, I'm grateful. If you want to begin doing this work now, I'm glad we connected. I want to thank you for taking this time together and to notice that right now you have a clear choice. If you're called to go deeper, reach higher, do better, find the potential you've yet to use, I'd be humbled to walk beside you as one of your guides. We have a lot to learn from each other. I can challenge you in novel ways to make these shifts and put them to use, to enliven your efforts for good, to reach up toward your significance. My team and I have set aside time in the next 48 hours to speak with you personally about how you can apply these ideas to your life starting today. Whatever your biggest challenges may be, we've seen them and we know how to overcome them. We'll get on the phone with each other for 30 minutes. Best thing you've ever done to break through to significance. And of course, there's absolutely no cost. On that call, you're going to get clarity on 3 things. You'll be able to identify your biggest opportunities and challenges. You'll be able to create a clear picture of the exact steps you must take next. And we'll reinforce those two items with a life-changing procedure document to help you stay on point, on track, and in the lane. It'd be a great start. You've already earned your place on that call, plus my respect for staying with this video. You already know whether it's for you, and I suspect that, if you're like me, you've known it for a while. The invitation's open. The decision is yours. I encourage you to make the right choice. Whether or not we work together for your own good, and yes, for the good of civilization, a civilization that needs you and wants what you can bring, I hope you make that choice soon. I look forward to talking with you. Again, this is for any successful person who's interested in having a radical, positive, significant impact on the world around them and leaving a legacy of right action for good. This is for positive, realistic, courageous, and dedicated individuals and teams. And it's for people who are coachable and ready to step up into the next chapter of their lives. We do this because part of our purpose is to give back and help others reach significance too. Plus, we know that even for the most successful people, significance can be elusive, and it's significance that adds real meaning to success. Thank you so much. I look forward to hearing from you. And here's to your significance.